Hello, friends and family, and anybody else who happens to be watching this video right now. How are you all doing? It is Saturday, which is this is my first day off for the week, and I actually picked up an extra shift this week, and what a week it was. Yeah, where do I even start with everything? I had gone home for the weekend last week, and actually I'm leaving tomorrow morning to go back home again. And I wouldn't necessarily drive home again because gas prices suck right now, let's be honest. But Monday's my wedding anniversary. So I kind of want to be home with my husband for our wedding anniversary. So that is the plan that I drive home tomorrow and then we get to hang out Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday I have to come back for my next work week. But yeah, so this week at work was a little bit crazy, and the traveler life is interesting, but watching how another hospital does some of their things, I mean, I don't know, it's kind of a learning experience seeing the differences between this hospital and my old hospital, and even some places where I've been before. And in between my work shifts, I've kind of been like following a little bit of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. If you haven't, and you don't care, you might want to skip ahead a couple minutes because I'm going to talk about it anyway. Um, I have never been a huge Johnny Depp fan. I don't even watch a whole lot of movies, to be honest. I'm not like a big Hollywood fan. Most of my time that I'm watching, I do watch some movies, and I know a lot of older movies, and I'm a Gen Xer, so, I can tell you a lot about some of the movies that were out, in the 80s and 90s type thing. But anyway, I was never a huge Johnny Depp fan, and a lot of the girls in my age group were when I was younger. And so I never got that, fascination with Johnny Depp. But um, you know, there were a lot of girls who were like, "Oh, he's so handsome." And when Pirates of the Caribbean came out, there's a lot of people, said he was such a genius actor, and he's played so many different parts. Although, in my opinion, some of those parts are kind of the same. But you know, anyway, I just, like I know who he is, and I know he's really famous, and I guess he's good looking, but I wasn't usually a huge Johnny Depp fan. I didn't even know who the hell Amber Heard was. I didn't. It wasn't until this trial actually that I even know who she was. I don't watch like the Marvel movies and all that stuff. I nothing to do with Aquaman or any of that. But to be honest, I just didn't even know who she was. And it's not like I live under a rock and I do know other, a lot of other famous people, who they are and stuff, but I didn't know who she was. And then I see this trial. It's all over like YouTube and Reels, and there's memes, and it is freaking hilarious in my opinion watching it from the outside. I know it wouldn't be hilarious if you were on the inside, but when you're watching something from the outside and you see all these memes and things, and she has the nickname Amber Turd, okay? She pooped in his bed, according to this testimony from Johnny Depp. So anyway, that whole thing to me is hilarious. And I'm not discounting anything about domestic violence, and I'm not the kind of person who does, I don't disclaimers on different things. And I'm not a touchy-feely, like, I don't understand why people freak out about even mentioning those words. And I was a victim of DV, okay? My first marriage. That's all I'm going to say. But um, when I look at the trial, and it's just like, this is insane that these people are getting up on the stands, and these lawyers, the lawyers on her side look like idiots. That female lawyer on Johnny's side, Camille Vasquez, she seems pretty cool. So anyway, a lot of watching, like the shorts and stuff. I don't watch, you can watch the trial like on YouTube. There's videos where they have like literally they're live streaming from the courtroom and stuff. So I've watched a few minutes of that, and then I get bored real easily. So I'm not well versed in the trial and I couldn't tell you everything. And to be honest, I just hope that everybody comes out okay. I think they're both kind of messed up people. I think Johnny has done probably some things in his life, but I think he's the victim in this case, and I think she is a piece of work. Anyway, all right, that is enough of that. So, we can move on to the next topic of my work week. Um, I worked 4 days this week instead of three, which no big deal. But one of those days, there was no charge nurse. They don't do things here the way they do it at my old hospital. And you would never have a shift where there was no charge nurse. You would have shifts where there was a relief charge. You might even have a shift where there's a float relief charge from another floor, which was never ideal because that nurse doesn't know our floor. That nurse doesn't know a lot of the things that are entailed in our specialty. If it was a straight up medical floor, a med surg floor, you'd be like, okay, cool, whatever. Like med surg patients are pretty straightforward, especially if it's a charge nurse coming from the med surg floor or the surgical floor, or ortho floor. It wasn't. There was specialties involved in that floor. So if we got a float nurse from another floor, it was very stress filled because especially, they don't know a lot of the things, how to do our staffing, the assignments for the morning, what nurses have what strengths and weaknesses. And those are important things to know as a charge nurse. In my time as a charge nurse over the course of my nursing career, you're never going to make anybody, or you're never going to make everyone happy when you go to do things like doing assignments, or even as a charge nurse. There are some people that don't like you. There's some people that, don't want, like, maybe they have a desire to have the power, whatever, to be a charge nurse. Some people don't want anything to do with being a charge nurse. I liked it. I did actually like being a charge nurse, but um, when you're sitting in that chair, you have to make certain decisions, and but you have to know the flow of your unit and what's going on and all that different stuff. So when you have a float person come in and do it, it would be kind of a mess. And a lot of the people who were like the veteran nurses from that floor would sometimes make suggestions on, well, wait a minute, like, and I was usually one of those ones that would be like, hey, wait a minute, like, that's not how this works, and I would try to offer my advice. But this time at this facility, there was no charge nurse scheduled, and they don't do it. It's not just a charge nurse position. They have their charge nurse as a combined position with house supervisor. This is the only place I've ever heard of that. Um, House supervisor is usually a totally separate position. They're not a floor nurse. They don't take patients. They don't get involved into any of that. We had one house soup at my old hospital. The only thing he would ever do medical that I ever saw was start IVs. And that was before we had a flex nurse position where they learned how to use the ultrasound. And their job was to go around the hospital and do IV starts and admits and discharges. So before the flex nurse, if he was on, we would call him and be like, "Hey, we've got a difficult IV start. Like three of us have tried, we can't get it." So after we got the flex nurse, like last time I talked to him about an IV, he was like, "Yeah, I haven't started an IV now in like 3 years." So um, the house supervisor is a nurse, but they no longer do any of those medical things. You could call them and ask them how to do things, and they might be able to help you to find resources. And I remember one night where I had a bladder irrigation patient, which we'll get back to that subject. And I wasn't big on, like, I didn't do that very often. It wasn't a skill that I had to do very often. So I would, kind of need a little bit of advice on how to do it. This one charge or house supervisor came and she was helping me and we were, getting stuff together and we were going through the procedure and we were doing stuff. So they are that resource to be able to help you do things, but they don't take patients. They're not on the floor charging. They're not, they're going around the whole hospital. They're making sure that staffing is good on all the floors. They respond to any codes. Um, If there's any sort of disaster or anything out of the ordinary, then the house soup would be involved. Um, at this hospital, their house soup is also is the charge nurse for the medical floor. There's only one floor. It's a small rural access hospital. And it's just kind of way different to me. But anyway, so it was me and one other nurse, and it was just kind of, we were like, okay, all right, if that's what we're gonna do. So that was a little stressful, but we made it through the night and didn't have any huge, gigantic issues or anything. It's just not ideal, especially when I'm a traveler. Um, and there was a night where we actually had no house supervisor and three travelers on the floor. It happens. Um, so yeah, there's different things to learn, and that's one thing I am learning a lot about different ways that hospitals do things, but it makes you appreciate, I think, what you had before and make you miss that and make you think about what you want to do in your future. Um, and that's something I was kind of, mulling today in my head after I got home from work and went to bed. And, do I want to keep traveling? Do I want to try to stay at this assignment if I'm going to keep traveling, or do I want to move on? Um, because there's some great people. And that's the thing about when you work at any place, I think, but um, as a nurse, we kind of do get to know our coworkers. You're kind of in this bond of everybody's in it together in this crazy situation of taking care of people, life and death, stress, emotions. There's a lot going on in nursing. And so when I was a staff nurse, like I was at the same place, basically on the same floor for 6 years. You get to know people, and so you kind of do form kind of bonds, and you have friends and different things, at the hospital. And I didn't have like I had friends where we basically only talked at work. I don't have a whole lot of friends outside of work. In fact, very, very, very few. But you have that bond while you're at work and you can commiserate on different things. And that's kind of, what I have here too, is there's these nurses that I work with. There's a very small number of people who work at a small rural access hospital. There isn't a staff of 45 people working on this floor. There's day shift and there's night shift, but the night shift staff is like 6 people. So you don't have a whole ton of people. You work with only a couple, and you get to know those people. And I've been here since February. And so, you think about, oh, well, in August when this contract is up, if I don't stay, I'm going to leave and I may not never see these people again. Um, or I might. My husband and I have talked about wanting to maybe come down here and vacation even after this assignment is over. And, like this whole experience of having the trailer now, we can kind of do that, take it to different places. And so maybe even if I don't work here anymore, we can still come down here and see this place. It's pretty. Uh, it's got crazy weather, like it's very indecisive. Mother Nature, what are you doing? Is it gonna snow again? Does it rain, hail, sleet? What is happening? I came back on Sunday and it was like 80 degrees. Not even kidding. I come back and the trailer is like roasting hot, and I had to open all the windows, and I even ran the air conditioning for a little while to cool it off enough so I'd be able to sleep. And then today I'm sitting here. I had the heater running this morning. I've got a sweatshirt and sweatpants on, and I don't even know what's happening. So yeah, there's that, but it is Idaho, and anywhere in Idaho, I've learned weather can be fickle. So yeah, work week a little crazy. Let's talk about procedures that you don't do very often as a nurse, and then all of a sudden it's like you get a bunch of it. I had two continuous bladder irrigation patients in the span of 2 weeks. And as I said in my previous, few minutes ago, that wasn't something I did very often. I think I could count on one hand the number of times I'd done it previously until just this past couple of weeks that I had to. Um, that's a skill that a lot of surgical nurses would do. And I'm not a surgical nurse, although now, I work a lot more with surgical patients because this is a true med surg floor. Um, but it was something that we would do every once in a while. They'd have surgical patients overflow on our floor. But yeah, I got to do a couple of them this week, and so I feel a lot more confident in that whole procedure after not having a whole lot of confidence in it before. Um, I still am not totally confident in my IV starts though, man. They have different IVs here. I used to be good. I used to be good. Not anymore. My batting average went way down. They have different catheters, and it's not super fun trying to get those in. Um, and I don't know. It's just, and once you lose your confidence, it really is like baseball or softball. My softball daughter could tell you this, and fellow softball, baseball players. Um, you know, you get in a hitting slump, and then it becomes a mental thing because then you just sit there going, "Oh, I suck. I can't do it." So then you're sitting there beating yourself up over the fact that you can't do it. So then of course you can't do it because it's a mental thing. It's a mental thing. So I've convinced myself that I suck at lab draws and IV starts, and so I suck at lab draws and IV starts. I'll get it figured out eventually. Meanwhile, I have good coworkers at least that were helping me. My fellow nurse who was working last night, she went in and she did both my lab draws for me. Yeah, it's a good thing that I work with some good people. And then today I don't know, I was sitting there thinking I might have ended up going to the bar across the street to meet one of my coworkers, but she never called me, so I don't know. I don't get out very often, like I said, and plus, like, I worked last night and I only slept a few hours today because my hope is that I do sleep today so I could get up early in the morning and drive home. That long 6 hour drive. The other day I actually slept too long. I worked Monday, I had Tuesday off, and then I worked Wednesday. Well, Tuesday I slept too much. And so when I went to work Wednesday, like I slept Tuesday and then I slept Wednesday during the day. I took a long nap and then I was too much sleep and I had a headache. Have you ever had that happen? So a couple of my coworkers were like, there's no such thing as too much sleep. Yes, there is. And when I get too much sleep, I don't feel good. So I have to have that happy medium. On most of the nights that I work, I get probably 4 to 6 hours of sleep. 7 on a really good day, but 4 to 6 is the typical range of what I get. So, that's counting that I work a 12-hour shift. I drive home, well, where I'm currently staying, and that's about a 20 to 30 minute drive. I get home. I can't just jump right in the bed. There's usually some getting ready for bed preparations, but I also try to eat a little snack. I take my vitamins, do all that stuff. So by the time I get home and from the time I've walked out the door of the hospital till I get in bed is like an hour and a half. Then I have to get up in the afternoon and get myself ready. I'm the kind of person that I like to get up. Let's see, I try to get up an hour and a half to 2 hours before I have to be at work so that I have time to get ready. I do usually, do hair and makeup. Like usually, but my hair consists of throwing it in a ponytail. But makeup, getting dressed, and feeding my face before I get out of there and drive back to the hospital. So that's another hour and a half, 2 hours or so, plus the 30-minute drive. So let's say 2 to 2.5 hours that you lose of sleep time in between each shift. I do value my sleep, but it's something that when you work night shift it can sometimes be a very precious, valuable commodity. But don't sleep too much. That's it's not good for you. Doesn't make me feel good. The other thing that is not good for my health at work is the snack food, the constant stream of snacks and things that seem to come into our hospital floor, and I don't think that's just us. So, fellow coworkers, how about you, or fellow nurses? How are you? How are your waistlines doing? How are the snacks? How are the ordering out of food? And we had a nurse that just came back off of maternity leave, and it's literally her first night back. And I was like, "Oh, hey, good to see you." And then she's like, "Oh, hey, I'm ordering food from one of the local restaurants. Does anybody want to order food?" No one else said yes. No one else said yes but me. Why? Because I didn't want what was in my lunchbox. I pack my lunch every night. I have to. We don't have the cafeteria at night, so I always have to pack a lunch. But sometimes I pack a lunch, and then somebody else either like orders pizza or brings in food, or there's a bunch of snacks, or in this case, order food from the restaurant, and then tempt me. So I ordered a sandwich. Yeah, and I ate the sandwich and macaroni and cheese, and it was really, really good. But then I didn't eat my lunch, and then I saved it for the next night. And I come in, and one of my other coworkers brings in hot dogs to share. Yeah. So then last night I had hot dogs. So I never did eat that lunch, and I just ended up tossing it because it was leftovers anyway. And after a few days, it does go bad. And I was, to be honest, and I know this sounds like totally wasteful, but sometimes I make a big pot of something and then I do get sick of it. Like I'll eat it for a couple of days. And that's the only problem with this being by myself thing here on this travel assignment is I end up eating the same thing a bunch. Like there's nobody to share it with. And so sometimes I'll be sitting there like, "Ah, I'm sick of that. I don't want any more." But it's all good. So anyway, I hope everybody else is doing well. And ooh, that was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Like I said, I'm driving home tomorrow, and I might end up coming back with a new tattoo. My daughter wants to go get ink while I'm home, and in fact, we were trying to find today a place that has an open appointment. I have a couple of different things in my head of what I want to get, but I have not committed on anything yet. So I'm going to leave in my comments down here the ideas that I have for the tattoos that I want, and I would like for you to put in the comments what your opinion is of what you think I should get. Yes, in the end, I know it's something that I need to be happy with and decide, but I have all these ideas of different tattoos that I've wanted over the years. You know, for those of you who don't know, like last year, my daughter and I went together and we got tattoos. This is the first one I've ever had, and I didn't even get it until last year. You know, I'm in my 40s and I didn't even get any ink till then. But I've always wanted some, so I've always had in my head different ones. And even over the past couple of years, I've like had all these ideas of, oh, I want this one, and I want this one, and I want this one. So if I go with my daughter and get another tattoo and I come back, I will show it to you. But please post in the comments which one you think I should get. And yeah, I'll see you when I get back. I probably won't do an update at home unless I take a picture of my tattoo. Anyway, take care. And if you want, like and subscribe and watch my other videos. Have a good one.